Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs Podcast, presented by Toyota. What a week. CubsCon is here and just in time for a Brexit from Boston and Bregmania to Wrigley. Good, better, best. Jed never lets it rest. CHGO Cubs next. Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by Toyota. It is Monday. We call it Victory Monday after that weekend and week. Luke Stuckmeyer, Joey Christopoulos, and Justin Roman in for you today to celebrate the Alex Bregman signing and more for your Chicago Cubs. What a weekend, fellas. What a weekend. First of all, the emergency podcast I had to do while the Bears comeback was going on, because the Bregman news comes out. Justin's texting us. Joey's texting. Everybody's selling. And I'm thinking, but this game's getting closer, guys. What are we going to do here? What are we going to do here? But it happened. And it was a great moment in Chicago sports history. And I should point out, we don't want to take credit, and I never would. But I should point out that Joey came in and found a rally cake from Portillo's in the refrigerator. Coincidence?
I don't think so.
Not. I think not. So we've done it again with our rally cakes. The Bears guys have caught on that it takes a little chocolate cake to push the team over the finish line.
What an amazing weekend. I mean, honestly, guys, I think we all felt the same way watching that Bears game. Going into the half, just did not feel good about things. I'm on my phone, kind of down in the dumps, and I get a buddy text me. All he says is Bregman. And I'm like, no way. I go on Twitter. Good old Jeff Passan, man. First one, I'm like, oh my, just my whole night changed in one tweet. I couldn't believe it. I go upstairs in my house. I change from my Bears stuff to a Cubs stuff. I do a video. I'm texting you guys like crazy. And then, listen, I don't know if we get credit for the rally cake, but do the Cubs get credit for the Bears turnaround? Because they were down in the dumps until the Bregman signing happened. And then all of a sudden, this Caleb comes through, Bears win. It's all because the Cubs signed Alex Bregman to a 5-year deal.
Amazing.
2026 is off to a real nice start, Luke. I'm just gonna put it pretty plainly. It also reminds me of what's that movie? Oh yeah, that's right, Field of Dreams, where they're sitting towards the very end, and he looks out and he just turns to Kevin Costner and he goes, "Is this heaven?" And Kevin Costner turns to him, and am I right? He goes, "No, it's Chicago, baby." That's what it is. That's what it's all about right now. Sarah on the ones and twos. What's up, Sarah?
Go Cubs. Go Bears.
There it is.
Cubs, go
Bears. You know what I was thinking, and I said to our Brendan Miller the other day, I said, you know what? This is the first step in exercising the state of Wisconsin. First, it was the great comeback. And the comeback and the handshake at the end where he blows him off. Then he goes into Johnson goes into the locker room and he's F-bombing the Packers and everybody's eating that up. And I thought to myself, yes. And then the Bregman signing is what carries it over to finally kick the Brewers to the curb this season. We've said, listen, you shouldn't be playing second fiddle to the Brewers in your own division. I thought last year was going to be the year. But they needed to do something this offseason that said to Cubs fans, we're not satisfied with 92 wins. We are going to spend the money. We are going to go for it. And we think we can be better than we were last year. It started with the Cabrera trade, but this is really the one, because the one thing that fans have always questioned is whether the Cubs would spend the cash. Now, is it a $200 million player yet? No. But it's the second one around $175 million. And it's a similar type profile for the player in that they love all of the stuff off the field, on the field, you name it. And Bregman signals to me that Jed got it done. I said on this podcast that when we did our New Year's resolutions, I said, if Jed can somehow, this was just a week ago, before the trade, I said, if somehow Jed can pull off getting a starting pitcher and a legit position player bat, that I will not question him ever again in 2026. 2026 is his year. And lo and behold, it took him less than a week. He must have been listening to the podcast, and he was like, oh my goodness. Stuckey laid it down on the line. He drew a line in the sand, and I have to meet that before Cubs convention. Jed, congratulations. I will not question you the rest of 2026.
I love it. I love it. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people owe Jed, and honestly, Rick gets an apology here. Like, it wasn't about them doing something on December 1st. It wasn't about them doing something by December 20th. It was about them doing something before opening day. And I said that before a lot of these podcasts. It's like there's no deadline here besides opening day. And like you said, look, in 1 week, a big time starter and a big time bat, you know? And I mean, like, but it's all negotiation. It's all back and forth. You know, when you're trading, it's a negotiation. Everything's a negotiation. Nobody just like, I want Bregman, here's my first offer, and it's a done deal. It doesn't happen that way. It's baseball, but it's also a business, you know? So I really do hope that, you know, listen, you could think of what you want about Ricketts. You could think what you want about Jed, but in this offseason and in these moments, I think they've nailed it, and I give them both credit. And again, maybe, you know, the Twitterverse isn't, they're not GMs and presidents for a reason, right? Let's let the big dogs do what they do. And I could not be happier with the way this offseason has gone so far.
Let's get an early Toyota super chat in here from Shane Newbanks, who says Jed did not want any of the Stuckey smoke. I'm on board with that one. And also, speaking of the chat, yeah, Godfather CHGO, you're the true test today. You're the true test.
Yes.
I knew if I kept the heat on Ricketts, he eventually would crack. I will lay off for a while, but I will be watching.
Yes.
Wow.
There it is.
That's big.
Wow. Because I was going to say, if you're still cynical, or even a little bit cynical, Godfather, I was starting to worry it was a bit. But no. Yeah. You were a measured Cubs fan who just was frustrated. Mm-hmm. And here's what I will say, is that the things that were pissing me off about this offseason was simply that when we talk about the Chicago Cubs and we talk about them being interested in, checking in on, engaged in talks with, all I asked for on this show, and I was with you when I did this show, was all I wanted the Chicago Cubs to show was conviction, right? What's the plan? Go out there and execute it because you are the Chicago Cubs. Clearly, Edward Cabrera and Alex Bregman have been on the radar for quite some time, and the quest is over, Jed. You've nailed both of them. 2 off seasons, or if Edward Cabrera, I guess, is a regular season and an off season. They almost got him in a trade or at least they tried to via trade last year. The 2 guys that they have gone out and identified as guys that can help them win baseball games, they went out and got them. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, let's do some real talk, right? I still think Kyle Tucker is a better hitter than Alex Bregman. Just real talk. I'm going to say that right now. But maybe Alex Bregman is a better player than Kyle Tucker is a hitter. And that's something that the Chicago Cubs value. The other part about it that I was bemoaning all offseason, that I just didn't understand why the Cubs were just going to sit on their hands in the 4th year of this cycle. And I've been saying this since 2022. Jed began from Dansby, Swanson on to put together a team that was going to be competitive. I believe Jed thinks about these things in 3 to 4 year cycles. This was the 4th year in a cycle when they just won 92 games and won a division round game. So I was getting frustrated that I was saying, you can't be telling me that they're not going to do anything when they've built it up to this particular place, right? So that has come to fruition, right? The Chicago Cubs, I'm not going to say are super serious, but they're serious enough that's got me really, really, really excited. And now with Bregman in the fold, you can start opening up the possibility of not just, because next year, a lot of money coming off the books. Could be a transition year. They're at least opening up the possibility to extend that cycle into an Act 2 with a young core of players, with a player like Bregman. I applaud Jed. The deferrals, Tom.
Yes.
Congratulations, man. I'm so happy as a Cubs fan. And look, like, we're critical, right? We want stuff. We get worried. We get frustrated. We know we want them to attack the offseason. Well, how it is, and Justin, to your point, right? They patiently got the deal done for the players that they wanted, Luke. And that's what I can live with. If they have a plan and go out and get the guys that they want, I can live with that. They're not just dealing with whatever's left over in the fridge. You know what I'm saying? And I applaud Jed and Tom for doing that.
And maybe maybe Bregman's not a better player than Kyle Tucker, but let's acknowledge that he might be a better fit than Kyle Tucker. And that can be something that's actually true in baseball, right? Like that can actually happen. And this is a player who really wanted to be a Cub. There was no hesitation. He wanted to be a Cub a year ago, and they didn't meet the price. And I saw it was Patrick Mooney in The Athletic, my old teammate. He brought up the point that in April last year, there was a Cubs player that came off the field after a big Cubs win who went and said to a reporter, unprovoked, imagine how good we'd be with Bregman right now. This is a message to the team. This is the type of message that they needed to see. Had the Cubs just done nothing this offseason and said the kids can play and we're going to go with a lot of questions in the rotation, that would have been the wrong message to a 92-win team, okay? Instead, the Cubs have gone out and said we've solidified the rotation. We've gone and spent the money to give you what we think is the right veteran player for this team. We've given you depth. We've given you hope, and we've given you the tools to go do this with our manager. This was the message the Cubs needed to send, and we all hoped for it. And Justin, I give you credit. You didn't sour on it the offseason as fast as some of the rest of us did.
Right. Thank you.
But there was a little hesitation because I remember last week you did say, now, if they don't get it done, then I will start to. And that's fair because we all got to the point where it was like, New Year's is gone. And if they don't get something done here before Cubs convention, how are they going to approach the fan base and say, we're still waiting to make a move and there are 6 of the top 9 free agents out there, but we don't know what we're going to spend and we could win with the kids. Instead, they got them both done before Cubs convention. And now optimism is just as high for the Bears as it is the Cubs. And it's like a 1-2 punch back and forth. I'm more excited about the Bears. No, I'm more excited about the Cubs. No, I'm more excited about the Bears. No, I'm more excited about the Cubs. That's what this city deserves.
Yes.
That's what sports fans in Chicago deserve. Not wait till next year, not wait for 5 more years on a rebuild, not wait for the next guy. We deserve to be talking playoffs and exciting teams that have chances to win championships. Totally. We got it.
And Luke, I thank you for saying that. I have remained optimistic this entire offseason. I thought all along they were going to make a big trade and a big signing, and I just didn't know which one. Was it going to be a trade for a pitcher, a trade for I didn't know, but a big trade and a big signing. And honestly, Jed kind of spelled it out for us. Like, I don't have any inside scoop to Jed Hoyer, or I don't have Tom Ricketts' phone number, but he kind of spelled it out to you. He said that the trade deadline last year, the pitching market wasn't what he thought it was going to be. Kind of messed that up. So I knew they were going to go out and get an arm, you know? And then also, Tom Ricketts and Jed Hoyer, they saw playoff baseball for 5 games at Wrigley Field, okay? There was no way I thought they saw that and we're going to take a step backwards. They want that, okay? No matter what you think of Ricketts as an owner, he wants the Cubs to win and go deep into playoffs and get that money from playoff baseball, all that kind of stuff. They want the Cubs to do well as we do. So I thought from a common sense standpoint, they're going to make moves. They don't want to get worse. They want to get better. And, you know, I think you hit it on the head when it comes to, like, Joey, you had said that Tucker might be a better hitter than Alex Bregman. But Vince in the chat, I think he nails it. I think that Bregman has the possibility of being a better leader for this team. I think we all saw Kyle Tucker didn't really mess with he was quiet. Didn't really mess with the fans. I don't know, whatever was going on with Tucker, it wasn't a great fit. But from all things that I've read, Alex Bregman is a great clubhouse guy and a great leader. So not only is Bregman hopefully a better fit from a player standpoint, Joey, but also from a leadership standpoint. And now you're talking, because that's intangibles that you can't put a price tag on. So yeah, I'm thrilled. I knew we'd get here. I didn't know when or what the route was going to be, but I'm very, very glad that Jed and Tom definitely got it done.
Listen, we got a lot to talk about on today's show, so do not go anywhere, okay? We're going to dive into the Bregman numbers. We'll talk about the leadership role. We're going to talk a little Nico Hoerner. We might talk a little Matt Shaw. We're going to talk a whole lot this week. It is Monday on CHGO Cubs. You are not going to want to miss one episode this week, but for the meantime, get the like button. Get your comments in right now. We're going to hear from some of our wonderful partners here on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota, and we will be right back in 2 minutes. Hey, Cubs fans, whatever the moment, never ordinary at Bet365. Did you know that new customers right now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose? Also, they have this little thing called the early football payout offer, and there's this little team in town that is still in the playoffs. It's the Chicago Bears. And whether it is the Chicago Bears or any playoff team, if you place a bet on a team to go up by 17 points, you are a winner if they go up by that 17-point margin. It's an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections that are marked as winners. So download the app and use code CHGO365 when you sign up for that offer. You could also double your winnings on parlays with Bet365. 100% parlay boost only when you use code CHGO365. So remember, deposit $10, place a bet for $5. You can get up to $200 in bonus bets if that bet wins or loses on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in-app only.
What if you could have reliable, intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep that Wi-Fi at the same price for 5 years? Good news. That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even know that they're there or notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And then it lets you stream the game, even if the whole family is online doing other stuff. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me. A lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won. Records are broken. Dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should be reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price. Unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
Welcome back to the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Joey Christopoulos, Justin Roman, Luke Stuckmeyer, perhaps making his triumphant return to the studio tomorrow. And Sarah on the ones and twos, talking all things Bregman here on the Cubs. Luke, I promise we're going to get into the player, but I want to ask you a question that I don't think you got an opportunity to have a take on or perspective on when you did the emergency pod, because it just happened in the moment. But per our conversation before the break, what I love about this is that the Chicago Cubs not only signed a great player, did all this stuff, is that they were in a bidding war with the Boston Red Sox. People are asking the question, why did it happen during the Bears game? How can you do this to us, Cubs? I think it's the Boston Red Sox, man. I think the Boston Red Sox were trying to get a deal. They had a deal on the table. Like, they went back and they said, if you're going to top it, you better top it right now, or Bregman's probably going to re-sign with the Boston Red Sox. And the Chicago Cubs pushed the envelope, got out of their comfort zone maybe, to get the deal done. And how did they get it done for 5 years, $175 million, Luke? With what we're learning is deferrals. Perhaps up to $70 million in deferrals for Alex Bregman, which makes this more of like a 5 for 105 or maybe a 5 for 110, whatever, when the ink dries on all the contract paper. So I just want to get your take on not only them winning the bidding, like not just, Dylan Cease over $200, we're out of it, whoops, on to the next guy, but also something that they've said that they'd never be interested in doing. Deferrals to players. I just want to get your perspective on that, because, again, that is a new form of contract machination in Major League Baseball.
There's a couple things I love about this signing. The first is that I know it's a great signing. Even if it doesn't work out, I know it's a great signing because I saw A.J. Pierzynski, of all people, say the Cubs are now the favorites in the division, and then, quote, and that's hard for me to say. So when AJ's saying something positive about the Cubs, the next level is if we had Ozzy on here and he was like, what a move, get Bregman. Like, that's it. You know it's a good deal. But the fact that the Cubs went out of their comfort level in more than one way here, they went out with the multiple years beyond having this clean slate in 2027. They went out of their comfort zone in the deferrals. They went out of their comfort zone in hitting over or at 175. They went out of their comfort zone in replacing not full time, but definitely at third base for a while, replacing a player who is under control for 6 more years at like zero money, and replacing him technically with a guy who's going to make 175 million. They're out of their comfort zone. And if you want my conspiracy theory on how this went down, Joey, you ready for this, Joey and Justin? Now, remember, a couple years ago, you guys might not have been paying attention, but I said that the Cubs would bring back Cody Bellinger on the 24th hour of the 24th day because he wears number 24. Okay. And I was looked at as if I was crazy. And I said, no. If you know you're bringing somebody back and you can do it, somebody's agent says to you, you know what, it'd be kind of cool to do it on the 24th. What do you think? And he said, throw it in on the 24th hour. That's the kind of ridiculous stuff that happens behind the scenes. What if this was so close to the finish line that the Cubs were sitting there in the first half of that Bears game and they said, we got a chance to steal the spotlight. We got a chance to take winter into spring and get everybody fired up. They'll feel so down about this Bears game at 21-3 that we announce this bad boy right now. We lock it up, get it announced in the second half, and everybody will forget that Bears game. And they'll look at us as the heroes from the north side.
And
it didn't quite play out that way, but we're just as happy.
Wasn't it a 12-point deficit at the time? Wasn't it 21-9 when it happened?
That's when they announced it, but I'm saying, like, what if the deal wasn't even done until they start doing the game, and then they're like, we got to close this sucker. It's 21-3.
What's the one thing in common between Cody Bellinger and Alex Bregman? Scott Boras. Manipulating the whole thing, the narratives and the news league.
The guy that loved to play those type of games. He was probably like, you should do this now. The Bears are down 21-3. Steal the spotlight.
Well, I think we can all agree that the Cubs saved the Bears season, and so did Alex Bregman. So I'm very happy about that. But also I want to say, too, that, with the Bregman thing, like the podcast we were on, we were talking about like New Year's resolutions and everything that you referred to earlier, Luke, is that I talked about how I hated the opt-outs. I hated I want to fall in love with the player. Well, look what happened here. Like literally, and actually I used Bregman as an example. I hated the fact that we had this whole thing, song and dance about Bregman last year, and then he didn't sign. He signed a 4-year deal with Boston. Oh, but just kidding. There's an opt-out. Well, look what happened this time around. There are no opt-outs. And then Bregman himself wanted a no trade clause. He wanted to be here. It's like everything that I wanted in one offseason and in one deal. It's like we get to fall in love with the player. I'm going to buy his jersey because like he's going to be here for 5 years.
I was going to ask that question. Yeah, he answered it for me.
Absolutely. So like that's what I'm talking about. Like it's like he wanted to be here. He committed to us. We're committing to him. That's what I love most about this entire deal. And again, my hat's off to Jed, to Tom, and I just feel like wouldn't it be like just unbelievable if the Bears could win the Super Bowl and then the Cubs win the World Series in the same calendar year, and it's because of this signing that the trajectory of both teams went like this? Amazing.
Joey, if I was there, I'd have the CHGO reality spray, and I'd be shooting it at Justin right now. 2 championships in 1 year. Let's not get out of hand. Hey, you know what we should do? We should make this our Taking the Temp segment. Your trusted local experts, 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit 4seasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's 4seasonsheatingcooling.com. So now that's just crazy hot talking right there. If you take the temp, double championships is a little wild. I do love what you're saying, Justin, about the fact that the player wanted to be here. Another thing that I love that gets me warm and fuzzy is that it's different. It's different going in. Don't get me wrong. Like there was a love affair with Kyle Tucker when the season started. All the sign him, extend him, all of it. He was playing great. The way this feels different going in is that this player asked for it. When you sign a guy, he's asking for it. Now, even if some stuff is close, and he's been saying for a year, I want to be a Cub. Tucker was never put in that position. He was traded to the other team. He never asked to play in cold weather at Wrigley Field. He didn't say anything bad about it, right? There was nothing. You talk about how something just seemed to be missing, especially when it started to go askew. I don't know. It might have been the injuries. It might have been the struggles. It might have been just that he's quiet like Kyle Hendricks. This feels different because the player has actively gone out and said, I want to be a Cub in more ways than one. And that means something to me. And I think it means something in the clubhouse. When you talked about intangibles, that's another thing. They like all the things that he does as a leader. It doesn't mean I'm saying Tucker didn't do it, but they like the Dansby Swansons. They like the Nico Hoerners. They like the Ian Happs. They like all of those types of players on their franchise. And it does seem like a smart thing to do.
Yeah, look, and the two parts that I think are a little bit different on it, just really quick with the leadership thing, I just want to pump the brakes just a little bit on that. I've seen some comments about people inferring that there isn't a lot of leadership on the Cubs. I push back on that because you just mentioned Dansby, Nico, Ian Happ. You know, PCA is going to be taking over a lot of that leadership pie in the next couple of years. Justin Steele. I don't think that was ever an issue with the Chicago Cubs. I'm not refuting that Alex Bregman isn't a leader. I think he's going to be a great addition to the clubhouse. Mm-hmm. But Luke, like anything else, when you walk into a new situation, I don't think Alex Bregman's going to come in here and go, I make $30 million. Now I'm the leader of the team, right? You have to ease your way into it, assimilate, and then through example, you then become a leader on the team. That's going to be a little bit of a work in progress. The other part that I just think is really different about this whole deal, what we're seeing this offseason, right? The bullpen stuff seems to be a little bit more of a trade, a craft, if you will, for Jed Hoyer every offseason. I get in there and I fix it all up. I turn it over and let's see what we got the next season. The thing that is different about this year is that I get it. The Chicago Cubs, it's $175 million. It isn't necessarily playing at the deep end of the pool with the 200, 300, 400 type numbers, which is fine. But what the Cubs are doing is they are building a baseball team equipped to handle a 162-game season and hopefully a couple extras, maybe a dozen or so in October. The depth that we've highlighted with Edward Cabrera, with the pitching staff, the options that they've created in the bullpen, and then offensively, yes, Matt Shaw, Moises Ballesteros, a lot to get excited about. But at this moment in this time, they're saying, no, we're going to add a little bit more. We're going to add some professionalism to it. We're going to add a 4-WAR player, a guy who's had at least 3.5 WAR in 7 seasons, a guy who's been a Silver Slugger, a guy who's been a 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, has won a Gold Glove in his career. Okay, the resume speaks for itself. To your point in the first segment, Luke, I'm going to echo that. They could have easily said youth movement. Let's just give these guys some ABs and let's keep rolling on. But no, they have a veteran core in place right now that can win right now. They just added to that. And maybe they didn't add superstar talent, but I do believe Alex Bregman is star talent. And right now, this could perhaps be one of the deeper Cubs teams of at least my recent memory. I struggle to think, in 16, they had a lot of starting pitching. They had a lot of options, but man, look, they had to rely on Aroldis Chapman a lot in that postseason. I just think they've got a lot of options, a lot of toys for Craig Counsell to play with, and I think that's different about the Cubs too that has me excited.
Well, Bregman is the perfect fit when you think about it because not just, you highlighted as well, all his resume is very impressive, but he's a Gold Glove winner, right? So you have Bregman, Swanson, Hoerner. I think we all agree that Michael Busch could be one day a Gold Glove winner. And then PCA, Ian Happ. This team is built on defense, and Alex Bregman fits that mold. He's obviously more of an offensive player, but he's a very good defender as well. And then you have your, right now, super utility guy, Matt Shaw, also a very good defender whenever he fills in. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, I'm sure. But whether it's third base, whether it's second base, whatever it is, this is still a very, very, very good defensive team, but their offense got that much better. And Mo Baller, I think, is a wild card because if that dude hits like we kind of think he could hit, the sky is the limit for this team. It really is.
Yeah, more to come here on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. Let's take a quick break to hear from some of our wonderful partners. Jump in the chat. I saw a really good one from Craig Brindle saying, Alex Bregman's always played with the number 2. Nico Hoerner is currently number 2. Did they give it up? Is there a swap? What does that look like? And also, let's address the Twitter elephant in the room over the weekend. Now that Alex Bregman is in, does that mean that the Cubs might think about shipping Nico Hoerner out? I promise you, we have thoughts. But first, a word from our wonderful partners. Hey, Cubs fans, here at CHGO Cubs, we got a lot of emergency pods. We're on the go, and what better than my chocolate peanut butter flavored Huel drink on the go. That's right. It is a meal in a bottle. It's got a high protein starter kit, and they also have the Black Edition RTD and Black Edition powder right now. And here's the bottom line, right? We all want to strengthen and have some goals in 2026, all right? I'm here to get into some shape, and you can get protein into your diet, but sometimes it's the wrong kind of protein. Enter Huel right here, because gym days, busy days, the days that you crush it, the days that you don't, Huel is there for you all throughout the day. Do you ever finish a workout and realize, oh man, I haven't eaten a thing, and you got that weird feeling in your stomach? Huel up right away on the drive home so you can get that back into your body so you can start making some gains in 2026. Look, there's other days I wake up and sometimes I only have carbs. Protein is actually a secret that you have to get done. So limited time offer right now. Huel's full high protein starter kit today. You'll get an exclusive 20% off with the code CUBS20, CUBS20 at Huel.com/Cubs20 for new customers only. Honestly, it just makes hitting your protein goals a lot less stressful.
They're ringing in the new year at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake with hot deals all month long during their Ray Resolution sales event. Stop in today, drive home with 0% financing for 72 months plus no payments until spring on all new Chevrolet models, or check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under 20 grand. And with one of the area's largest Chevy inventories, they're going to find the perfect vehicle for you. And they also have raised price promise, which lets you shop confidently because the price you see is the price you pay. Go see for yourself our partner at their convenient location right on Route 12 in Fox Lake. And don't miss out on their Ray Resolution sales event going on all month, 0% financing for 72 months and 0 payments until spring on all new Chevy models. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com, serving the community since 1963. I like to say, together, let's drive. Here's $175 million, as we like to say on this podcast and at CHGO, it's Cubs over everything, baby. But we do acknowledge that we are of the Bear family and we are baby Bears. And it's also Bears over everything. Playoffs, baby. We got a diehard deal going right now, still going because they're still in the playoffs. $36 to be a diehard for a whole year. For an introductory offer right now, that's $3 a month. It's nothing. And you get the free shirt. And you know what? We've got all kinds of new merch out there. Sick drip all over the place. The Iceman shirt. It's always great. The FGB and the Great One. And it's got, there he is, Caleb, grinding away on that cheese in the post-game show. So nice, but there's so many shirts to choose from. You get a free one when you sign up to be a diehard. You get the exclusive diehard card. I like the Iceman one that looks like little freezies. You got a couple CHGO football ones. You get the Iceman out there. Listen, the new merch is sick. And we've got another tailgate. We didn't know it. We got another tailgate coming up. Joey, how many people were at the tailgate for the Packer game?
So I think our season high about a month ago when we played the Packers the first time, we were over 250 people. For this one that we just started because we didn't know when and how and what it was going to be. In only a week's worth of time, I think we flew over 250 for this last tailgate.
Wow.
And damn it, we're doing it again, Sarah.
Nice.
Well, I was going to say, that's just for
Bring
our
on the
tailgate.
rain.
I mean, we're in a giant, big lot filled with other tailgates, too. I mean, there's just thousands of people. But don't let that scare you because there is still all you can eat, all you can drink. So please enjoy.
Wow.
Yeah,
I saw pictures. Looked
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. We're prepared
All
for
vibes.
the most amount of people.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Danny Parkins was in the house. Just people were just so happy and excited. We've done this for 2 years with the tailgates when you're stuck in a losing streak and just the cynicism is raining down on your head. And
when I check people in, and honestly, like every tailgate is different with kind of the vibe, and both all the Bears fans, everyone was just like happy.
Yeah.
Which is like usually there's like a lot of different emotions, but everyone was like cool.
And I gotta be honest, Luke, like just in the last 4 or 5 days with the Cubs making these kinds of moves, I can't help but feel like what the first 120 club is going to feel like, what opening day is going to feel like. It's just the passion, the excitement for the Cubs. I mean, we're always supporting this team. We're always filling up the ballpark. We're always buying the merch. We're hanging out around Gallagher Way. But I just can't help but feel, as I daydream now, hopefully, whether it's spring training or opening day, I think Cubs fans, there's going to be a little extra oomph in this one, a little extra excitement and passion, and I can't wait for it.
You were talking about, taking a dive into, the land of 200 million and what this means. 5 years, 175 million is not diving in from the platform dive at the Olympics, the big platform, right? That's not what it is. But 5 for 175 for this franchise and the way we're operating is absolutely a head-first dive into the deep water. This is the Cubs diving headfirst and saying, we are all in. Now, would we love them to do it from the platform dive every year? Yes. Right. But this is what we asked for this season. Get to the big bouncy platform springboard and dive in headfirst into the deep water. Show us you're ready to play with some of the big boys. That doesn't mean it had to be a $200 million player, but you went and got a starter. You gave up your number one prospect, and then you went out and signed a guy. Like I said, you could have left it right there and just held a player that was under control for 6 more years. And instead you went 5 for 175 with a veteran player. And Justin, you were talking about the defense. I feel like they already had the defense part of it, like Shaw. If Shaw showed me one thing that I believe in last season, it's his defense. He could play third base. I also believe he could play short and second, which leads us to the next thing. Like, now where does the team go moving forward? Right? We have Nico on the final year of a deal. And I would suggest to you that if there is a player on the team that the Cubs want to say, this is what we want in a player, that Nico is that guy. He is the example of this is the type of player we want. He is our homegrown guy. He is a hard worker. He does everything that we ask him to do well, because we don't ask him to hit home runs. We ask him to be this player on this team. And as for Dansby Swanson, when we're talking about, hey, there's maybe a crowded infield, for me, this is where, and we talked about this off air a little bit, this is where Dansby is supposed to be. For all the people that make Dansby a polarizing player on the Cubs because of the contract and the money, and they all wanted him to be the star player. Dansby is not the star player. He is a great defensive player who looks pretty good if you put him at the bottom of the lineup on a team that has some other big hitters. It's why at times last year in the first half of the season, you were like, oh, I don't mind Dansby down at the bottom of that order. That's better than most teams are putting down there. And so he can go up back to a more comfortable position in the lineup because there's not this big gaping hole left by Kyle Tucker anymore. You now have Bregman's bat to move in, and you have some other ways to move this around. And I think it means that Seiya is your right fielder. But the team has, as Joey said, incredible flexibility. But I think better than they've had in so many years, and that includes flexibility to see what happens this season. So I know we're going to talk about Nico and Shaw, but I want you to think about another guy too in flexibility. Alcantara is the outfielder they didn't give up. So if you pencil him in as your fourth outfielder right now and say he's on this team, he's going to be our fourth outfielder. He's better defensively than Seiya is. And so he can fill in any of those positions. He can play the outfield spots, or we could move guys over. If he turns into a legit bat, Alcantara, it allows you all this flexibility with the DH and the outfield and all these different things. You could talk about Mo Baller. You could talk about Bregman as – you could have a different DH every game. You could have Bregman as a DH. You could have Seiya as a DH. You could have anybody else you want. Mo Baller could be your DH. This team, you know who would love managing this team? Joe Madden. I think Counsell's going to really enjoy it as well because it allows him flexibility. But Madden, who loved just like throwing the crazy things at you, none of it would be crazy because this team has so much flexibility.
I think you're right about Alcantara. I think he's your fourth outfielder because he's really your only backup center fielder as well. So I think that he's the guy they kept. and he's still obviously top prospect of ours. So I think he does, he fits in this team perfectly. I don't know if y'all agree or disagree. I am totally fine with Seiya Suzuki being my right fielder. He showed me enough down the stretch last year when Tucker was hurt. He showed me enough during the playoffs. He made every play he was supposed to. And, I know he's had his ups and downs defensively here in Chicago, but like coming over from Japan, they said he was a good defender. So I am totally fine with Seiya Suzuki being our right fielder. I think the bat is elite. I really believe in his bat when he's healthy. And I think, again, he showed down the stretch and in the playoffs that he could be at least an average defender in right field. Because I do want Mo Baller at that DH spot, as it is right now. Now, last minute trade, last minute signing, whatever. But as it is right now, I love Mo Baller as DH because I think the kid can hit. And I think more offense, the better. But Seiya Suzuki as a right fielder does not scare me whatsoever. But yeah, I'm excited. A lot of flexibility. Like I said, a lot of flexibility. Before we go into Nico and Shaw, do you have any thoughts about Alcantara and Seiya and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, Alcantara can back up in center field, which is nice. I think it's time to give some of these guys a little bit of run, a little bit of opportunity. Yeah. I saw in the chat, which I liked a whole lot, that Mike Talkman's always out there too as well. So if you needed a little floor certainty, you can always bring him to camp and see what happens if you wanted to do that. I love having this conversation because we've gotten to the point with the Cubs defense where it's like if the dude hasn't won a Gold Glove before, it's like, oh my God, this great gaping hole that we have. I get it. Seiya isn't great and he bothers me. 2 hands, right, Justin?
2 hands.
2 hands.
2 hands.
But at the same time, I think we can live with it a little bit. I will also say this too as well. When it comes to a guy like Matt Shaw, I wouldn't put it past the Chicago Cubs maybe throwing him out in the outfield in spring training just to see what they can do. They talked about that with Nico several years ago, that he's athletic enough to be able to play the outfield. Matt Shaw, there's no reason why he can possibly do that too as well. I'm not saying as a regular thing, but just to fill in as a spell. When you talk about that DH though, Luke, I could not agree with you more. Now, let's be very fair and transparent about this. Alex Bregman has won a Gold Glove at third base before. Last year, he was not a Gold Glove third baseman. It just is what it is. -1 defensive run saved. I'm not saying he was bad. He was average to slightly above average.
Injuries too. He had injuries as well.
And injuries too. And obviously the lower half. Yeah, look, he's 32 years old. And look, here's the fun part about it is about 10 years ago, I started writing for this company called RotoWire.com, and they stuck me on the NL West. So I started covering the NL West a whole lot, which was really fun because I saw Kyle Tucker come up and Alex Bregman come up, and I wrote about him. I had this article that I think Bregman's the next big thing. He was a double triple demon when he first came up with Houston. He had speed to him, right? And the lower half injuries have kind of sapped that a little bit over the last couple of years. He is an incredibly professional hitter. But again, to your point, Justin, missed 2 months with a quad injury last year. I want to keep Matt Shaw in the fold at third base because he's a Gold Glove finalist, right? I think you can easily get Bregman off of his feet and get him out there at DH for a couple of days. I think you could slide Seiya Suzuki into the DH, and maybe you're fitting Shaw or Alcantara or somebody else out there every once in a while. There's so many different ways to do this to try and keep people fresh. Again, I'll say it on the show. I love that Dansby wants to play 162. Is it in Dansby's best interest to play 162? Nico can slide over there to short. Matt Shaw can play a little second. To your point, that's such a great one. Joe Madden, I think, would love this offensive roster right now. And maybe Mo Baller behind the plate. There's so many different ways, and hopefully we'll have a stat halfway through the year of the Cubs have deployed all these different kinds of lineup position player-wise because I think that's what's going to get it done at the end of the day. So I want to keep this going. To the Nico Hoerner thing, I want to keep Nico Hoerner, right? Like I think that should be a mandate to keep him. Live with the embarrassment of riches. Just for one season, Cubs fans and Cubs organization, and see what you got after that. Assess value from there. You will have financial flexibility the next year to extend Nico Hoerner if you want to, or move on from him, or whatever it is. But I hope that they keep Nico Hoerner.
To piggyback on that, my thoughts on that are this. I love Nico Hoerner. I sound like a broken record. He's my favorite player. I think he just does everything the right way. He's the perfect ball player. He's not a superstar, but he's a star. I've said it a million times. I still firmly believe that. Where I'm at on Nico Hoerner is that I think you gotta do the extension with him before this season, just because otherwise this is going to be an ongoing thing with Matt Shaw, Nico Hoerner, and honestly, do any of us not want an extension and then lose Nico for nothing, right? So again, I think if he's your guy, extension, and I'm all for an extension. And then maybe you talk about trading Matt Shaw or making him an outfielder, whatever it is. But if you're not going to extend Nico Hoerner, I think you do got to at least field phone calls about what Nico Hoerner is worth, because you do have Matt Shaw that can slide into his natural position of second base in case you do trade him for the right haul. That's my opinion about it all.
Yeah, but Luke, just really quick, Luke, on that though, like they're under the luxury tax right now. That's music to Tom's ears. If they want to extend him right now, they will fly over the luxury tax. They have to have some sort of version of communication with Nico right now saying, hey man, look, we only have $60-70 million committed to players next year. We want to keep this conversation going. I understand what you're saying. It's just like, but it's the tax at that point. At that point, then they'd fly over the tax. They'd be paying money on top of the Nico deal. I would just hope that they could just hang tight. And if I get it, it's a walk here. He doesn't feel great as the player, but I think the Cubs could have a good faith conversation with Nico that they could discuss it at the end of next year.
Yeah, Nico may look at it too, even himself, and say, listen, if I can market myself as a shortstop in a year, which I should be able to do, I could be looking at serious money, whether I want to stay in Chicago, but I also could play the money card if I want, and I can market myself as a shortstop, and I would be worth a lot of money. I don't think they need to extend him. I wouldn't hate it if they did. I would rather see the money go towards the bullpen and different things. This deal, you could put so many one-word labels on what this Bregman deal means moving forward for the Cubs. Number one, I could think of serious. It means the Cubs are serious, right? All of those things. But if there's two words that cross my mind, one is the flexibility, right, and depth. Flexibility / depth, whatever you want to say. Imagine what happened last year if Shaw was your starting third baseman and you got first half Shaw when the season starts, or playoff Shaw, or injured Shaw. What is your backup plan at third base? You have that answer now. One way or another, if Bregman is older and he's 32 and he gets injured, you've got an answer at third base. You got a backup plan at third base. You got a backup plan at short. You got a backup plan at second. You got a backup plan in the outfield. They have backup plans. But the one thing that really comes to mind is the word certainty. And people wanted to say that, when you talk about depth, certainty is the real answer to what they've gotten. We have a lot of places on this team where things could end up just like last year, exceeding projections, and the Cubs could come out looking like roses, smelling like roses, right? Well, there's also some things where you look at it and say there's injury history here. He's pitched more than he has before here. This guy, what if he doesn't play like that? What if he plays like second half PCA, not first half PCA? What if this happens at catcher and we don't get Kelly that we had last year? What happens? You can say it all over the team. There's uncertainty. Alex Bregman gives you great certainty at third base. It gives you a leader. It doesn't mean he's going to be the guy because the backup plan is also good. That's why you don't trade Nico now, because right now you have great depth, you have great certainty in some key spots, and you have great flexibility, not to mention great talent. You don't go out and make a signing like Alex Bregman just to go trade the most valuable player as you see the perfect player on your team. He doesn't hit the home runs, but you've said that's the ball player we like. You don't go trade that guy because he's in the last year of your deal just for saving a few bucks. It's the wrong move. It's the wrong move. And right now, trading Shaw is the wrong move because his stock can keep going so far up that if you traded him in a year and decided to keep Nico, you'd get 10 times what you get for Shaw right now.
And that's the thing, Luke, is that I get all this, like the trade and the Yankees are calling and all this stuff. It's like, what are you trading Nico for? That's what I'm not also really hearing. That's even making me scratch my head and go, oh, hold on a second. Should we really think this through? Like, what exactly would the return be other than the obvious of, well, the playing time or the money? The money isn't my problem, and to this point, they are under the luxury tax. So good on Jed for doing that. They can literally keep both players on the team right now. And in terms of performance right now, I would bang the table that I think that you can get 400 plus at bats from Matt Shaw and still get a guy like Nico Hoerner, who is almost one of only 6 hitters that hit 300 last year, that has a very, very unique skill and is never overmatched in at bat. And Sarah, here we go. I'm going to do it. Can I get a one shot, Sarah? I get a one shot. I got to talk to the crowd just really, really quickly here. The CHGO Cubs chat.
Get me off the screen, just Joey.
No. This is the first. Right. This is the first of many first of many PSAs that we're starting. It's campaign day 1 of Hi Chicago Cubs. Hi Jed. Congratulations, you've done a wonderful job. Do not trade Nico Hoerner. If you're watching this right now in the chat or you're watching this on YouTube, go to CHGO_Cubs and send us your video simply saying, do not trade Nico Hoerner. If it's going to take Cubs fans in mass of us all getting together and saying, do not trade Nico Hoerner, this is what it's going to take. We will play it on the show and we will run it on socials. So join the campaign. It is day 1. We will say it every single day until we get to spring training and he stays on the team, because Luke, you are 1000% right. You have just put yourself in this position where you have all this backup, all this depth. Now let's see it play out. Do not extract from it in this very moment right now. You're already there. Let's see how it rolls, and do it with one of the heart and soul players on this team. Jake Flanagan, do not trade Nico Hoerner. Do not trade Nico Hoerner. Almost got it. We'll go back to the wide shot now, but day 1 of my campaign, I approve of this message. Do not trade Nico Hoerner. CHGO_ Cubs if you agree with me.
Justin, you know what we love in this city? We love movies that are shot in Chicago, right? Blues Brothers. I think of Ferris Bueller's. Now, this shirt wouldn't last long enough for CHGO to probably make this shirt. So I'm going to give this one to our guy, Joe Johnson, over at Obvious Shirts.
Yes. What is it?
Save Nico. Instead of Save Ferris, the Save Nico shirt.
Nico, I love it.
Sell as many of them as you can at Cubs Convention. We could sell those babies at Cubs Convention this weekend. They would go out of style. The Save Nico t-shirt.
And, we're talking about Matt Shaw finding at bats. Joey, I think you're right. Matt Shaw can still get about 400 at bats.
Easy.
Don't forget our as of right now, our DH, Mo Baller is a lefty, right? So anytime a lefty's on the mound, you slide Bregman over to DH. You got Matt Shaw at third base. Mm-hmm. You lose nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there are ways to do it for sure. I'm just saying, like, why not? We have a young core. I mean, we PCA, Cade Horton. I still consider Nico young, where I really would love to have a Nico Hoerner extension, and then all this talk goes away, period. So I get what you guys are saying. I just feel like, man, Nico's their guy. Why not give him that extension? And then now you can maybe Matt Shaw becomes an outfielder, because now you have these guys and ultimate flexibility. But listen, I love Nico Hoerner. I'm just saying, if the phone rings, I am picking it up, because he is a free agent after next year, and I want what's best for the Cubs, not the name on the back. That's what I'm saying.
I pick up, but I go, can hear you right now.
Your prize.
I think it's connection. I think it's back connection. Real quick, Alex Bregman versus lefties last year hit 314 career, 291 versus left-handed pitching. So, get used to it. Bregman maybe in the DH. You can easily play Matt Shaw at third base. Mm-hmm. He can take advantage of those lefty matchups too as well.
Yep.
I didn't see who it was. I'll be honest with you. I've been looking through a lot of tweets, and, all the New York people are sure it's going to happen. We've seen the biggest names of the biggest names now saying what we're saying. There's a surplus of infielders on the Cubs, but not one that they can't use. And I've seen the great John Morosi, friend of the show, Jeff Pass, and they've all said, hey, just heads up, the Cubs, and we know that the Yankees are calling. Mm-hmm. Okay. But then I saw somebody that I didn't recognize the name. I don't know if it was a Yankees reporter or just a Yankees fan, and they were like, within 1 week, Nico Hoerner will be traded to the New York Yankees. Market. And my response to that is, great. Aaron Judge is going to look good in a Cubs uniform. No, I don't know what the trade would have to be. Like, I don't know how you would justify that trade, at least at this moment, because you can let the season. It would have to be, you'd have to be blown away. I agree. You listen, because Nico's not an untradeable,
right?
But it would have to be such a package that you just be like, why are the Yankees doing this right now? Why would they do this for Nico Hoerner, right? It's different if you're saying, I would do this to get Juan Soto, or I would do it for – Nico has tremendous value still to the Cubs. So Who are they really going to give back? And if you got to the trade deadline and Matt Shaw's got 25 home runs and is showing you can be Nico Hoerner at second base, okay, then I feel a little bit different about trying to restock it and some team's desperate for Nico. But why wouldn't you play out at least to the trade deadline before you decide what to do?
Good problems to have.
Yeah.
That's what I want as a Cubs fan. And I'm sorry, look, Jason Dominguez, all of a sudden, we're going to play that corner outfield spot over the next 2 or 3 years and see if he's a guy. I get it. The Yankees have done a lot. Yankees fans have done a lot of talk this offseason, and their organization has done nothing. We were almost in that boat. We are currently not,
But
Justin.
we're not.
We are not, because they went out with conviction and got a starting pitcher that they like. They got the Bregman guy that they want.
Yep.
And now, all of a sudden, now it's the Yankees spitballing here. Well, maybe if we can bring in this guy, and you know what I mean?
And don't forget, the Cubs also redid their bullpen. I mean, before we got Cabrera, before we got Bregman, they revamped their entire bullpen, too. It's been a great offseason. Now, Luke, I'm going to call you out a little bit here because our guy Steve over there says, guys, just be patient. Jed does things one by one. Yeah. He will get the right move. Just wait and see. And to your point earlier, because your resolution –
That's right.
In Jed, we trust.
That's where
that's where I'm at. They have a whole plan. Yeah, they have a whole plan that we didn't really know about. We kind of guessed it, but they have a plan. I am giving the faith to Jed Hoyer to execute his plan, and I'm on board. So listen, if Nico Hoerner is my starting second baseman, not just this year, but for years to come, I'm thrilled. If there's some crazy trade involving Matt Shaw or Nico Hoerner, and it makes us that much better, I'm going to trust Jed. So, but Steve's right. It is one by one. Let's trust Jed and see what happens.
The only thing about this with the trusting Jed thing is that we've been talking about these two moves for about a year and a half now. And it's like the movie Maverick. Is this movie ever going to come out? And the movie finally did come out. That's the only difference. Like, we've known about these two moves for a while, but just getting there, right? And what do we always say on this show, Luke, about Tom Petty? The waiting is the hardest.
Stop.
No, we're going to get sued.
Singers.
Stop it. We're getting sued.
I thought I was the musician on this team. I guess not.
Oh,
you
don't
can
know.
sing.
You don't know. Like Pavarotti.
Good problems to have,
We're the jump jokers over here.
The jump jokers. I love that.
as an opener.
When I used to cover Greg Popovich, I always admired that when he would stand for the national anthem, as a former military guy, he stood with his feet. You know, when you see somebody in the military, the feet are next to each other. There's no curve in the back. He stood there and he stared at the flag, right? That's how I will approach Jed on Friday at Cubs convention. I will just stand there at attention, not doubting him for now. Hello, leader. Hello.
Sure.
Attention,
not
sir.
Just now. The whole year, you said. The whole year.
Well, you're right. I did say the whole year. And the trade deadline might be difficult. It might.
Just give him 1 year. Give him 1 year because he's this offseason.
I will not doubt him in 2026.
Yep. This offseason he's shown that he knows what's going on, and Ricketts has shown that he will spend this offseason. So both those guys, by me, they get an A+, man. We're good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Steve in the chat
gave his support.
Yeah, the Godfather is even on board. That's a good thing.
So that was the thing really quick, because I was like, is Godfather going to keep doing the bit and the bit that he always does, or is he going to come correct and at least admit today
he did
that they did a couple of things here that fly in the face of that cynicism, and Godfather today pulled that cynicism out of the freezer and put it in the sun for a little bit, right?
Love it.
And melted just a little bit.
So did AJ Pierzynski.
Yeah.
Credit to them.
Yeah.
Credit to them.
It's good to be a Cubs fan, isn't it? I mean, like today, this weekend, like we're in a good spot right now, boys. Like enjoy this because we all know way too well, even recent bias, that is not always this good of a feeling. So this is a really good weekend and a really good start to our spring training. And
we got about a minute to go, Luke. But Pat Jumer in the chat saying something very honest. Toyota Super Chat. Why no love for Carter Hawkins? Well, Luke, he did just get a player for the 2032 Cubs because isn't that line up with Bregman on the contract?
Point. I don't think so. 31 Cubs. That'd be 31.
Oh,
we're 1 year short. Carter, he's disappointed.
Don't let the math get in the way of a good story, Justin.
sorry, my bad. You're right. 32 Cubs. We're good. Bregman signed.
That's it. Tomorrow, Joey, we got to do. We didn't get to. We want everybody to think about it in the chat. This offseason, who's the good, who's the better, who's the best, and what's the never let it rest of what the Cubs have done this offseason.
Yeah, and I got a ton of nerd stats on Bregman for tomorrow, ton of nerd stuff on Edward Cabrera. Like, who is, like, tomorrow I know we're excited about emotionally with Alex Bregman. Let's get into, like, who is Alex Bregman as a player? What is he bringing to the Cubs? Where is he maybe going to hit in the lineup? We could play that out for a segment. Where do you see him fitting in? So a lot of that stuff we can start diving into starting tomorrow. But today was just a day of excitement, bewilderment, and dude, let's go, man. Cubs over everything, dude.
Take us home, Joey. Take us home for this podcast.
All right, here we go. Thanks so much for tuning in to the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Shout out to Sarah, always on the ones and twos. Shout out to my man, Justin Roman, who's coming back tomorrow.
Yes.
We're getting a double dip. Let's play 2 with Justin Roman and maybe the triumphant return of one Luke Stuckmeyer. Do not trade Nico Hoerner. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as Luke always says, especially today, fly the W. See you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.